When you don't text me good morning, it basically means you wish I was dead. That's what it means.
Do you really think I give a fuck? Do you?
Days of unanswered phone calls lead to a discovery that no family should ever face.
Absolutely. So a young woman was found dead in her Atlanta apartment.
September 30th, 2025, Atlanta. When police finally walked into Josephine Tarwai's apartment, she'd been dead for 48 hours, 27 years old, naked, alone in her bed. And according to the official report, no crime. But here's what they didn't put in that report. Scratches on her neck, her fingernails broken and chipped. The lock on her door, busted, hanging loose like someone forced their way in or out. Her family, hundreds of miles away in Minnesota, had been calling for 2 days, begging Atlanta police to check on her. 2 days of silence, 2 days of bureaucratic runaround, 2 days while Josephine lay there, and whatever happened in that room stayed locked inside with her. Police looked at the scene and wrote it off, called it natural causes, suggested she died from a diabetic episode, except Josephine wasn't diabetic. And natural causes don't leave bruises shaped like fingertips on someone's throat. So the question becomes pretty simple, doesn't it? Was this a cover-up? Or was the negligence just so staggering, so complete, that it might as well have been? Because what the police refused to do next, that's where this story really starts to fall apart. But before we get there, if you believe that every victim deserves more than a half-done investigation, if you think the truth matters more than protecting a department's reputation, hit that subscribe button. Because what happens in this story, it's not just about Josephine, it's about how easy it is for someone to die and for the system to just shrug. Now here's what I need you to think about. If your daughter had been dead for 2 days, if the cops dragged their feet, showed up late, and then told you there was nothing to see here, if they ignored the scratches, the broken nails, the busted lock, would you trust them to find her killer? Drop a comment right now. Tell me, would you have kept quiet, or would you have done what this family did and fought back? I'm reading every single one. Welcome to True Crime Footprint, where we unveil the darkest mysteries and the most terrifying true crime tales. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new stories. Your support keeps these stories alive.
A 27-year-old Josephine Tarwai's family tells me that her death is no accident after they found evidence inside of her apartment. And they tell me that investigators could actually be standing in the way of the answers they need.
We're broken. We're crushed.
Their pain unbearable.
The wake and funeral this weekend.
The Tarwais still suffering 23 days after their daughter and sister was found dead, alone in her apartment, hundreds of miles away from them. September 28th.
They start calling Atlanta to file for a welfare check. Atlanta police says, you can't file for a welfare check. You guys have to file for a welfare check in Minnesota.
The family tried to get police here to Josephine's apartment, but APD didn't show up until Tuesday, September 30th.
We went there Thursday. Don't want to go in there and tamper with anything. So that's when I called a private investigator.
We knew there was a lot of cameras, there was a lot of footage, a lot of neighbors.
Robin Martinelli tasked with trying to find out what happened to the 27-year-old.
When I explained this to the police, they told me to show up and request an officer to come and get the evidence. And I did that, and nobody came. And nobody cared.
This is Gold Rush Show Bar. It's actually just 2 minutes away from Josie's home. Her family tells me she was actually a dancer here. They believe investigators may not be taking her case seriously because she worked here.
It's very demoralizing, and you kind of lose a lot of faith.
For now, the family is relying on Martinelli to gather evidence, like the images of her broken nails the family wanted you to see.
They were all broken up and chipped up. She had some bruises on her bodies that were odd, and she also had some scratches. I'm just a private investigator, and in my opinion, it looked like there could have been a struggle.
They won't stop until they get answers.
Go against whoever we have to go against to get justice for Josie.
Now, Joseph tells me that he believes his little sister was robbed, or somebody that she was either talking to or didn't want to talk to hurt her.
Her name was Josephine Tarwai. Her family called her Josie, 27 years old, born and raised in Minnesota, but living in Atlanta, working as a dancer at a club called Gold Rush Show Bar. Her apartment, 2 minutes from work, same road every night, same routine. Predictable, safe, or so it should have been. She wasn't just a dancer, she was a daughter, a sister, the kind of person her brother would later describe as the glue that held them together, the kind of person whose absence leaves a hole so big, her mother would pass out from grief hours before the funeral. But here's what matters. Before Josephine died, something was already wrong. Friends told the family she was being stalked. Someone had been following her, watching her. She felt it. She told people about it. But no one took it seriously enough to do anything. Her brother Joseph thinks she might have rejected someone. Maybe someone she worked with. Maybe someone who saw her every night at the club and couldn't handle the word no. Maybe someone who decided that if he couldn't have her, nobody could. She told people she felt watched, followed, like someone was always just a few steps behind her, and then she turned up dead. Now here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Police treated Josephine differently because of where she worked. She was a dancer, and to them that meant she wasn't worth the effort. Her life didn't carry the same weight. Her death didn't warrant the same urgency. If you think that's messed up, if you think every victim deserves a real investigation no matter what they do for a living, then hit that like button right now. Share this video, because silence, that's exactly what they're counting on. So let me ask you this. How many women get ignored because society decides their job makes them disposable? Comment below. Do you think her profession affected how seriously the cops took this case? Be honest. I want to know what you think. September 28th, 2025, Josephine stops answering her phone. Her family in Minnesota tries calling. Once, twice, 10 times, nothing. Straight to voicemail. No text back. No social media updates. Just silence. They panic. Of course they do. So they call Atlanta police and ask for a welfare check. Just go knock on her door. Make sure she's okay. That's it. But here's where it gets infuriating. Atlanta PD tells them they can't do that. They say the request has to come from Minnesota authorities. So the family contacts Minnesota police. Minnesota files the request, and then nothing. Atlanta PD sits on it for 2 full days. By the time officers finally show up on September 30th, Josephine has been dead since the 28th. 48 hours. Gone. Now let me explain what a 48-hour delay does to a crime scene, because this is critical. Body temperature, it normalizes to room temp within 24 hours, making it nearly impossible to pin down an exact time of death. Rigor mortis, it peaks and starts to fade. DNA evidence, it degrades. Trace evidence like hair, fibers, fingerprints, they disappear. Witnesses forget details. Surveillance footage gets overwritten. Every hour that passes, the truth gets harder to find. And in this case, the cops gave it 48 hours to rot. The family believes Josephine died on September 28th, the same day they begged police to check on her. The same day officers could have saved evidence, could have locked down the scene, could have started asking questions while the answers were still fresh, but they didn't. Now here's where it gets even worse. When police finally got inside, they gave the family 2 completely different stories about how they entered. First, they said the door was barricaded, that they had to force their way in. A barricaded door suggests someone was trying to keep people out, or maybe keep something in. Then the story changed. Suddenly, the apartment manager let them in with a key. No forced entry, no barricade, just a routine unlock. So which one was it? Because both can't be true. And look, maybe you're sitting there thinking, I don't need to subscribe. I'll just watch this one video and move on. That's fine. But if that's you, I want you to go to the comments right now and tell me why. Tell me what I need to improve. Tell me why you're okay walking away from stories like this without staying informed. I genuinely want to know, because here's the real question. If the police lied about how they got into the apartment, what else are they lying about? Subscribe if you think the truth matters more than protecting a department's reputation. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what we uncover next. The family knew they weren't getting answers from Atlanta PD, So they hired someone who would actually look, Robin Martinelli, Atlanta's top-rated private investigator, licensed, experienced, the kind of professional who's built a career finding what others miss. And what she found? It changed everything.
1 month ago, 27-year-old Josephine Tarwai was found dead in her apartment. Her family says they still don't know how she died, but those circumstances surrounding her death, they've led them to believe that something nefarious has happened to her. 11 Alive's Angelina Salcido reports.
I feel so terrible, for my young daughter.
After 29 days,
We still looking for answers.
the Tarways are still trying to figure out how 27-year-old Josephine Tarwai died.
They want to sweep it under the rug. And that can happen in America here.
An incident report from Atlanta police labeled Josie's case a death, no crime, highlighting that she was found in her bed alone, naked.
We believe something happened to her because of a lot of the false narratives that we've got. The police told us that her room was barricaded. Now they say her room wasn't barricaded. They told us that they forced entry into her apartment. Then they said that the apartment people opened the door with a key for them.
That lock is so faulty.
This is video of apartment staff letting the family into the dancer's room with their private investigators 2 days after Josie's body was removed.
Waited for the police here 45 minutes. They never show up.
Inside, they found her clothes, a money counter, and belongings thrown around.
She had a fight with somebody in there. I'm pretty sure.
The family says a private investigator noticed all her nails were broken, along with bruises and scratches on her neck when she viewed her body.
Her friends are saying that she was being stalked by somebody, but then you want to say there's no chance of foul play.
Standing just outside her apartment now, Josie's brother and father plead with APD to look at her case closely.
It took getting help from you guys to get a phone call. Police are calling me, asking me, what do I think happened? I want to know what they think happened.
Our death will not go in vain. We will fight.
Martinelli examined Josephine's body, and right there, plain as day, were bruises and scratches on her neck. Her fingernails, broken, chipped, jagged edges where smooth polish used to be. The family confirmed it. Josephine always kept her nails done. Always. She took pride in that. So those broken nails, they didn't happen by accident. These are textbook signs of a struggle, defensive wounds, the kind you see when someone is fighting for their life. When someone's hands are around your throat and you're clawing, scratching, doing anything you can to break free. Someone tried to strangle her, and she fought back. That's not a diabetic episode. That's not natural causes. That's murder. So Martinelli does what any investigator would do. She tries to hand the evidence over to Atlanta police, calls them, explains what she found, offers to provide documentation, photos, everything they'd need to reopen the case as a homicide. They ignore her. She's told to show up in person, request an officer, wait for someone to come collect the evidence. Standard procedure, they say. So she does exactly that. She shows up, she waits, and nobody comes. Nobody cares. Let that sink in for a second. You're this family. You're hundreds of miles from home. Your daughter is dead. The police have written it off. So you hire a professional investigator because the cops won't do their job. She finds proof of violence, clear, undeniable proof. And when she tries to give it to the police, they ghost her. They don't even show up. So let me ask you this. If you believe that ignoring evidence is the same thing as letting a killer walk free, hit that subscribe button right now, because that's exactly what happened here. And if we don't make noise about cases like this, they'll keep getting swept under the rug. Here's the question that should terrify you. Why would police refuse evidence that could solve a murder unless they never wanted it solved in the first place? Comment your theory. Do you think this was incompetence or something worse? I want to hear what you think. The case is still open. The official medical examiner's report? Pending. It could take up to 90 days, maybe longer. That report will either confirm the police's story or prove the family right. It will either say Josephine died from natural causes, or it will show what the private investigator already found. Signs of violence, signs of a struggle, signs of murder. But here's the thing, the damage is already done. Evidence is gone. The scene was left unprotected for 48 hours. The delay was fatal. DNA degraded. Witnesses moved on. Surveillance footage got recorded over. Whatever happened in that apartment, whatever truth was waiting to be found, it's harder to reach now because the people whose job it was to protect it didn't. And you want to know the worst part? The only reason police even started moving on this case? Media pressure. A news correspondent from 11 Alive reached out to Atlanta PD for an exclusive interview. And minutes before that interview was set to air, police finally called the family. First time they'd heard directly from APD since Josephine's body was found. Not because it was the right thing to do, not because justice demanded it, but because bad press was coming and they needed to get ahead of it. That's what it took. Not duty, not integrity, just the fear of looking bad on camera. The emotional toll on this family is something I can't even put into words. Josephine's mother passed out hours before the funeral. The grief was so overwhelming, her body just gave out. Her brother described the family as broken, crushed. The kind of pain that doesn't fade, the kind that sits in your chest and stays there. But through all of that, her father made a promise. He said, "Josie's death will not go in vain. We will fight," and they have, every single day since. So here's the question we're left with. If a 27-year-old woman is found dead with signs of violence, and the police call it no crime, without even waiting for an autopsy, what does that say about the system? What does that say about who gets justice and who gets forgotten? Because the answer matters, not just for Josephine, but for every victim whose life gets dismissed because of their job, their background, or just because no one cared enough to look closer. To the Tarwai family, we see you, we hear you, and we won't let Josephine be forgotten. If this story made you angry, if it made you feel something, don't just scroll past. Like this video, share it. Make sure people know what happened to Josephine Tarwai, and subscribe because there are too many stories like this that never get told. Do you think the medical examiner's report will tell the truth, or will it protect the police? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading all of them. Our hearts ache for Josephine's family. Words feel inadequate, but please know you are held in deepest sympathy and prayers. May you find strength and comfort in the memories of Josephine. Thank you for watching, for your attention, and for joining us on this journey of reflection. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe. See you on our next video.